Hi, welcome to Daily Dose of Anime Recaps. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the first 4 episodes of the series Monster Musume. Before we begin, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next episodes. The episode begins with a boy named Kimito Caruso turning off his alarm and trying to wake up. Suddenly, he is wrapped up by Mia, a lamia, half-woman, half-serpent, who's sleeping next to him. She strangles him to make herself warm. It is revealed that a law was passed 3 years ago, the Interspecies Exchange Bill. The law was passed so that humans could interact with semi-human species that the government had long kept hidden from the world. Since then, the semi-humans are pursuing cultural exchange and have assimilated into human culture without any major incidents. Later, while Kimito prepares breakfast, Ms. Smith, an Interspecies Exchange Coordinator, shows up. She's in charge of making sure the caretakers are doing their jobs as well as making sure that they are not doing intercourse. She explains that anyone who harms the semi-humans, who are there for the purpose of cultural exchange, will be punished severely by the law. Since Kimito is Mia's host and is ignorant of the law, Smith came to check on him. Turns out Smith left Mia at Kimito's place for only a few days. But now that Mia is enjoying her stay, Smith wants Kimito to study the law. Also, Smith warns Kimito not to have intercourse with Mia. Since the semi-human species are quite passionate, Smith wants Kimito to have control over his erotic desires. Damaging the purity of the interspecies representative at human hands will be a diplomatic issue. If he doesn't abide by the rules, he will be arrested and she will be deported back to her homeland. Meanwhile, Mia arrives and yells at Smith to stop threatening him. After Smith leaves, Mia mentions that she doesn't care about the prohibitory rules because she fell in love with Kimito from the first day. While most of the people feared her for being half snake, Kimito accepted her and let her stay with him. So Mia wraps around Kimito and tries to get intimate with him, but the latter screams in pain after hurting his arm. The following day, Ms. Smith tells Kimito that as Mia's host, he's responsible to show her around the town, stay with her every time, and assist her. Since the laws state that the exchange species and caretaker must be everywhere together, Kimito and Mia visit around the town, have lunch together, and play arcade games. Not only that, Mia takes Kimito to a lingerie shop despite his refusal. Later, when some people start to make fun of Mia, she gets mad and is about to attack them. However, Kimito stops her, saying she will be deported if she hurts humans. Just then, the people start clicking pictures of the two, prompting them to flee from the place. As they run, they arrive in front of a love hotel and decide to hide there for a while. Inside, Mia tells Kimito that she thinks humans still don't like her species, but appear to be nice because of the law. Then she takes off her robe and asks Kimito to make love to her. However, he is hesitant. Just then, Smith bursts through the wall with some guards and says they found out about them through Twitter after people posted Mia's picture. As they exit the hotel, the same people making fun of Mia before show up. They mock her again, but this time Kimito punches them hard. Back at home, Kimito tells Mia that he will always view her as a girl first and not Lumia. This makes Mia very happy and she jumps into Kimito, asking him to make love to her again. However, Smith interrupts him. The next day, a harpy named Poppy, half eagle, half woman, abducts Kimito and takes him away to a park. She explains that she's not allowed to go out until she memorizes the interspecies exchange law, so she doesn't have a host family yet and ran away when the coordinator was busy. Turns out Poppy had run away multiple times earlier, but never got into any trouble. Poppy also mentions that the coordinator had threatened to deport her if she runs away next time. Shortly after, Poppy starts to cry and Kimito gives her an ice cream. However, the clumsy harpy spills it all over her body and undresses to clean herself in a nearby fountain. Kimito realizes that Poppy is unaware about human society as she bathes naked in front of the people in the park, who are amazed to see her. When Poppy drags Kimito into the water, Mia arrives and berates her for taking away her love. In no time, the two start fighting over Kimito and make a scene. Suddenly, the crowd turns around and sees a scared little girl hanging on a tree branch. Wasting no time, Mia slithers around the big tree and manages to reach the girl. However, the little girl gets scared and slips her hand. Before she could fall to the ground, Poppy flies and grabs her. Sadly, her wings are wet, so she can't land smoothly, but Kimito helps her, and the three eventually save the girl. As the crowd cheers for the interspecies, a police officer arrives and asks about their host family. Since Poppy doesn't have one, Kimito claims that he is the host to both Mia and Poppy. When the officer asks for the permit papers, Smith arrives and shows it. Back at Kamito's home, Smith reveals that she has already made Poppy's permit papers for Kamito because she knew he would be ready to host another interspecies. It makes Poppy very happy and she addresses Kamito as her master. Later, Poppy asks Kamito to help her bathe. However, Mia gets angry and pushes away Kamito as she steps in to help Poppy. That night, the two girls sleep together. Kamito is a bit relieved that he doesn't have to sleep with Mia anymore. The next morning, while returning home from the grocery store, Kamito is stopped by Centaurea, a member of the dignified centaur race. She asks if Kamito is destined to become her master. Surprised, Kamito calls Smith, who tells him that centaurs have a tradition of finding their own masters. Since Smith is off duty, she wants Kamito to take care of Centaurea for a day. Centaurea is half horse and half woman. Meanwhile, a thief snatches a purse and drives away on his bike. Centaurea pushes him along with Kamito. While chasing the thief, Kamito mistakenly opens Centaurea's shirt buttons. Embarrassed, she runs into a corner and decides to punish Kamito. Just then, the thief arrives with a sword to kill Centaurea. However, Kamito comes in between to protect her and ends up getting hurt. In the next scene, Kamito apologizes to Centaurea, who forgives him immediately and thanks him for saving her. Since she thinks she and Kamito are destined to be together, she acknowledges him as her master and swears her loyalty to him forever. Surprisingly, Kamito agrees to keep her. However, he must get ready to host 3 interspecies now onwards, who are obsessed with him and desperately want to be his sole companion. The next day, Kamito asks Centaurea to fill up a homestay application, while Mia teaches the interspecies exchange Iowa to Poppy. Afterwards, Mia and Centaurea get into an argument regarding Kamito. In the meantime, Kamito takes Poppy for a bath, where she tells him he's like a sibling to her. Since there are only female harpies, Poppy has no idea what brothers are like. Instead, she tries to get intimate with him. Just then, Centaurea arrives and stops her, before riding Kamito on her back. She takes him to a park to relax and explains to him that as a warrior from a dignified race, she'll always value her loyalty to her master and serve him as a knight. Despite Centaurea's culture, Kamito reminds her to take advantage of the interspecies exchange law and learn more about human culture and behaviors. While Kamito asks if there's anything she wants to do, Centaurea sees a couple holding hands and requests he do the same. Kamito obliges and holds her hand. Unfortunately, Mia and Poppy arrive here and start fighting with Centaurea for taking away Kamito from them. Meanwhile, Smith, who is passing by in her car, sees the girls fighting over Kamito. Enraged, she points a tranquilizer gun to shoot the girls. However, Kamito, who doesn't want to hurt the girls, comes in between and gets shot. Back at home, the girls feel guilty and apologize to Kamito. They promise not to cause any trouble to him. Surprisingly, Kamito says he's not mad at the girls and blames Smith for being careless and making them stay in the same place despite their differences. He calmly reminds the girls that learning to overcome problems is part of a homestay and considers the girls as his family. Hearing this, Smith mentions that there has been a slight modification in the interspecies exchange law, which allows humans and the other species to marry. She explains that Kamito can marry either Mia, Poppy, or Centaurea. It's because marriage will become an unavoidable part of interspecies relationships. Taken aback, Kamito yells at Smith for forcing her decisions on him every time. Later that night, Mia and Poppy force Kamito to mate with them, presuming they are going to marry soon. Just then, Centaurea bursts through the door and pushes away the girls. Since Mia and Poppy are acting bizarre all of a sudden, she explains that it's a full moon night, so their instincts are fully awake. She assumes that after the marriage thing came up, the girls must have lost control of themselves. However, shortly after, she also starts to behave the same. Scared, Kamito runs away from the aroused girls and locks himself up in the kitchen. Then, he calls Smith and yells at her for not informing about the full moon incident. Suddenly, the 3 girls barge in and capture Kamito. He tries to defend himself but ends up falling to the ground and getting hurt. The following morning, Kamito thinks a lot and tells the girls that he will date all 3 of them as potential marriage partners. The girls get excited and look forward to marrying him. In the next scene, Mia gets attacked by a slime. Centaurea explains that slimes are species still unrecognized by human society. After a while, the same slime appears and tries to attack Kamito, but Centaurea steps in and uses her sword power to destroy it. However, the slime bursts and splashes all over Kamito and Centuria's bodies. Afterward, the two of them go for a bath in order to scrub the slime off their bodies. Centuria assumes that the slime must be probably looking for water, since it was in the water pot and then in the sink. Suddenly, they see the slime on the ceiling. Before Centuria can attack the slime, it changes into a woman. Turns out she's a humanoid slime. She tries to give a bath to Kamito and hugs him tight until he starts suffocating. Kamito immediately pushes her into the bathtub. As soon as she touches the water, she is diluted into her creature form. As they plan to inform Smith, the slime woman reappears and bursts into everyone, making them wet and sticky. Though Mia and Centuria dislike her, Poppy is friendly with her and even names her Sue. Since Sue is a slime, she can't wear clothes because they get wet, so Kamito decides to make her wear a raincoat. Later, Kamito, Mia, and Centuria discuss if they turn Sue over to Smith, the government might put her under prohibitionary supervision or even imprison her for being an illegal immigrant. Suddenly, Poppy picks up Sue and flies out of the window. Kamito also runs after them immediately. A little further, when Sue sees the river and gets scared, she struggles and falls to the ground. But thankfully, Kamito arrives just in the nick of time and saves her. Since Sue had melted in the bathtub, Kamito realized that she fears water, so she panicked after seeing the river. Kamito yells at them for running away, but Poppy explains that she was worried he would send Sue to prison. Meanwhile, some kids come over and ask Poppy to play with them. It is revealed that Poppy has been sneaking around to parks alone and playing with the kids every day. While Poppy plays with the kids, Sue absorbs water from the river through her tentacles. Turns out, she gets diluted when she's dipped into water, but when she absorbs it through her tentacles, she turns into a giant slime woman. When Kamito sees Sue playing with the kids along with Poppy, she realizes that Sue is just trying to have fun and isn't dangerous at all. A delinquent drives through the street and is about to run his car over a little girl. Thankfully, Sue steps in and saves the girl. It assures Kamito that Sue is very protective too. In the last scene, Kamito decides to keep Sue with him as well, as she has no place to go. Now, along with the 3 girls he already has, he also has to take care of the humanoid slime.